Egypt, land of the pyramids and pharaohs. One of the most studied and scrutinized civilizations of the ancient world, and yet it remains veiled in mystery. In this video, we are going to see that the Quran reveals secrets about Egypt that until recently were lost to mankind. Pharaoh was a tyrant in Egypt, enslaving and persecuting the children of Israel. The Quran states the following about the death of Pharaoh and his supporters.
فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منظرين.
Note the words, heaven and earth wept not for them. A recently unearthed pyramid text has granted us new insights into the meaning of this verse. The pyramid text reads, "The sky weeps for you, the earth weeps for you, when you ascend to heaven as a star." Here, the pyramid text praises Pharaoh, claiming that upon his death he will ascend through the sky and claim supremacy of the heavens by becoming a star. We can see that the Quran quotes the pyramid text directly in its rebuttal of Egyptian adulations of Pharaoh. What's amazing is that knowledge of the ancient Egyptian language of hieroglyphics was lost to mankind at the time the Quran was revealed. It wasn't until the discovery of an artifact known as the Rosetta Stone in the 18th century, over 1,000 years after the revelation of the Quran, that mankind has been able to fully decode the hieroglyphics. When you hear the word Pharaoh, what comes into your mind? Most people think of the supreme ruler of Egypt. This is correct, but the word did not always refer to the supreme ruler. Ancient Egyptian history is divided into different periods. The word Pharaoh, Egyptian Perah, had different meanings depending on the period of Egyptian history. Historically, the word Pharaoh only started being used as a title for the supreme ruler much later in Egyptian history, during the New Kingdom period. Before this, the word meant great house and was used to refer to the royal palace. The Encyclopedia Britannica states, Pharaoh, originally the royal palace in ancient Egypt. The word came to be used for the Egyptian king under the New Kingdom. Let's now analyse the Quran's accounts about Egypt in light of these historical facts. Like the Bible, the Quran discusses the prophets Joseph and Moses, who both spent time in Egypt. Joseph is dated by scholars to either the Middle Kingdom or Second Intermediate period, well before Pharaoh meant ruler. In the story of Joseph, the Quran repeatedly uses the word king to refer to the ruler of Egypt. He is never once called to the New Kingdom period. In the story of Moses, the Quran repeatedly calls the ruler Pharaoh. He is never called king. We can see that the Quran is accurate in its use of language when it comes to describing the leader of Egypt at different periods in its history. How could the author of the Quran have known this? The only source of information about ancient Egypt that would have been readily available are the Bible-based stories. To claim that the Quran copied from the Bible is problematic because the Bible uses the word Pharaoh to refer to the Egyptian ruler in the story of Joseph, which is historically inaccurate. The Quran cannot have copied from the Bible because the Quran corrects the Bible. The Bible explicitly states that at the time of the Exodus, the Israelite men were vast in number. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. If we factor in the women and children, then the total number of Israelites would realistically be in the millions. This claim of a vast nation is problematic in light of other information that the Bible provides. Firstly, Pharaoh is said to have appointed 2 midwives to deliver and murder Israelite babies. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, "When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him." 2 midwives would only be sufficient for such a task if the Israelites were small in number and giving birth to a manageable number of babies. 2 midwives would not be sufficient for a vast nation of millions. Secondly, the Bible tells us that after the Exodus, God informed Israel that they would not be granted the land of their enemies straight away. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out before you, until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. Note the reason for the Israelites being denied immediate possession of the land. It is said that wild animals will overpower them. Such a statement only makes sense if the Israelites were small in number and not a vast nation of millions, as the Bible claims. By contrast, the Quran states that the Israelites were only a small band at the time of Moses.
فأرسل فرعون في المدائن حاشرين إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون.
We can see that the Quran fixes the contradictions that are present in the biblical narrative. The Quran states that the punishment of crucifixion was used in ancient Egypt from the time of Moses all the way back to the time of Joseph. Now, the word crucifixion typically brings to mind the Roman cross. However, in antiquity, there were different forms of crucifixion. Professor of Archaeology David Chapman wrote, "In studying the ancient world, the scholar is wise not to differentiate too rigidly the categories of crucifixion, impalement, and suspension. Hence, any study of crucifixion conceptions in antiquity must grapple with the broader context of the wide variety of penal suspension of human beings." The Arabic words translated as crucified in the Quranic verses all contain the root word solaba. Arabic dictionaries state that this root carries a number of meanings, including to harden or stiffen and to extract oily matter from bones. This word does not only mean death by being hung on a Roman cross. Rather, it indicates any method of execution which makes the body hardened or stiffened and results in the leaking of bodily fluids. So, impalement, suspension, and the Roman cross are all included without making any distinction. Archaeological evidence shows that the ancient Egyptians used to crucify people by impalement on a stake. The following entry is taken from an Egyptian German dictionary of hieroglyphics. Note the hieroglyph which depicts an impaled man. This is a punishment that was used throughout the different periods of ancient Egypt. The Abbot Papyrus is dated to the New Kingdom period. It mentions an oath that includes impalement. He took an oath on pain of being beaten and of being impaled. The earliest evidence for crucifixion by impalement is Papyrus Bulaq 18, which is dated to the early Second Intermediate period. It states, "A bloodbath had occurred with wood. The comrade was put on the stake." We can see that crucifixion by impalement on a stake was carried out during the New Kingdom period and at least as far back as the Second Intermediate period. These time periods cover both Moses and Joseph, which shows that the Quran is historically accurate. As well as mentioning crucifixion, the Quran also narrates the following threat of mutilation made by the Pharaoh of Moses.
لأقطعن أيديكم وأرجلكم من خلاف ولأصلبنكم أجمعين.
Historically, we know that capital punishment in ancient Egypt became more severe with the advent of the New Kingdom period, which is the time of Moses. In fact, the specific punishment of mutilation is primarily associated with the New Kingdom period. For example, the Turin Judicial Papyrus records, persons to whom was done punishment by severing their nose and ears on account of them ignoring the good instruction said to them. These details about crucifixion and mutilation are missing in the Bible. There is a Jewish commentary, the Midrash Shemot Rabbah, which mentions Pharaoh threatening Moses with burning and crucifixion. But this is a much later work that was composed centuries after the Quran was revealed.